Your Excellency Hamid Ansari, Vice President of India, Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, members of the India Foundation, including my friend Ram Mahadeva, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first commend the India Foundation for convening this conference on counterterrorism. Your foundation has focused on a number of topical issues relating to regional security, regional economy, and democracy. You have today established a reputation as a leading think tank in India. This conference is being held a few days after the Indian Ocean Rim Association Summit in Jakarta. The Jakarta Concord arrived at the meeting has committed IORA to countering terrorism in the region and establishing an IORA working group on maritime safety and security. This conference affords a further opportunity to discuss this subject in detail. I need not describe at length the growing geopolitical, geostrategic, and the geoeconomic importance of the Indian Ocean region. To many, the future of Asia lies in the Indian Ocean, which is a rising giant, home to 3 billion people. Half the world's container ships travel through the Indian Ocean. It's the vital energy link between Middle East and Asia. It is also the main shipping route between Asia and Europe. Therefore, the global economy depends on the free flow of Indian Ocean traffic. Hence, the security of Indian Ocean is of concern to all. The greatest challenge the security of the region faces today comes from non-state actors who engage in terrorism both on land and at sea. We are witnesses to terrorist activities from the East African coast to Southeast Asia. Either terrorist groups are engaged in battle or attacking civilian target centers in others. During the last 1.5 decades, this threat has spread to the maritime domain. This is a real threat in the Indian Ocean. Maritime terrorism is now on par with land based terrorism. Maritime terrorism also has the capacity to disrupt global economies. The Indian Ocean is well known for its choke points, and the disruption in two choke points simultaneously will have far reaching consequences throughout the world. We in Sri Lanka have been the victims of terrorism. Terrorist attacks on our city, conventional fighting in the north and the east, and maritime terrorism. Thankfully, we have brought terrorism to an end. We know how powerful non state actors can be. Since the end of Sri Lanka's terrorism, the technology used by terrorists have been upgraded and the number of non state actors have multiplied. We are all familiar with the nature of the terrorist threat on land. We must also recognize the importance to the threat to maritime security. These non state actors use the most modern technology in their attack. A recent example being the small unmanned remote control boat used on a Saudi Arabian warship by a group of Yemeni militants. Terrorists have also attacked maritime infrastructure. In the future, logistics hub and maritime infrastructure may face more frequent attacks. The possibility of non state actors hiding among the civilians' maritime traffic is a nightmare which we prefer not to think of. The complexity of maritime threats require navies to rethink their roles and how we can respond effectively and adequately against these non state actors. Systems disruption and the potential for deploying digital systematic terror is another growing threat in the Indian Ocean region common. The digital sector is an emerging threat that needs careful study and smart solutions. Whether it be in traditional terror financing or the encryption of messaging technology, which is emerging as tools for terrorist organizations. Furthermore, the processing of global financial transactions, especially the billions of diaspora and global remittances transactions to their home countries around the Indian Ocean, are replete with vulnerabilities of the electronic payment systems and their operators. Analysis demonstrate that these digital networks are beyond national control and are easily deployed for digitally enabled disruption associated with weapons of terror. Counterterrorism, therefore, needs close cooperation by all the states. One man's terrorist cannot be treated as another man's liberator. IORA's declaration on preventing and countering terrorism and violent extremism is a good starting point for you all. The resolution requires the states to support each other's efforts to counter the threats of terrorism and violent extremism, including through enhancing cooperation and coordination of efforts, dialogue, and sharing of information, expertise, best practices, and lessons learned, including stemming the financing of terrorism. Do so within the framework of the UN resolutions against terrorism, ASEAN Convention on Counterterrorism, and the SAARC Regional Convention on the Suppression of Terrorism. Close cooperation between regional countries is the only way in which counterterrorism measures can succeed. I thank you and wish you all the best in your deliberations.